Oh yeah, what's up everybody? Come on into the Rooted in Progress Stream Center. We have special guests today, including Garrett. Garrett, say what's up to the people. We're so happy to have Garrett here.
What's up, everybody? I was not expecting to have to be on a microphone. Not gonna lie to you.
Garrett was like, I don't really know if I fit the Rooted. Garrett, everyone is welcome here.
Yes. I'm not saying they're not welcome. It's just you have to replace Terrence with me. I'm not sure that I'm a great replacement.
Are you saying that's big shoes to fill?
It's very big shoes to fill. Terrence is great.
Okay. Don't get his head too big. I'm sure he is somewhere gonna be listening to this. Garrett, we're thankful and grateful that you were able to step in last minute for us. Naisha too, y'all.
Hey.
She traded in producer hat for talent hat. Because we needed her.
This hat may be too big for me.
We
just gonna see.
Listen, Naisha, we want to tell people what happened. Do we need to tell people where Terrence is?
Terrence is he's missing in
Terrence is off the show. Breaking news. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I'm
just kidding. It doesn't work like that.
He just has some other obligations that he had to step in with, help. Because we don't do this.
We don't get paid
to do this.
Like technically we do, but like not really.
We're in this building under this brand name, but he has his actual job to do and fill in for someone else.
Yeah.
I mean, I do too. I should be in a morning editorial meeting right now, but hey.
Praise the Lord, you're here with us now. So I'm super excited. We are really just going to kind of have a laid back, chill episode, kind of go over some of the wild things that have been happening, particularly an impact on the culture. So everyone who's listening live, please join the conversation.
Please join us. We'd like to see your comments on Facebook right now.
Join the conversation.
Please be respectful. Deanna's kind of chill. I don't really have...
You don't do that?
No.
I'm not. I pick and choose. Okay. If I feel like it, because sometimes I think some people do things because they want the attention. And those people I will never give the attention because you're doing it repetitively because you want the attention.
Yeah, come on,
and I ain't got time for you. So therefore, sometimes I just don't even address certain things because you're only doing it because you want attention.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we'll see. Y'all
we do have time for
what?
Is to dissect these topics.
Yeah, there's a lot that's been happening. We were actually in communication with Attorney Ben Crump's team to discuss what has happened and what recently happened with the young man in Jacksonville who was. This is a video. It has been everywhere. We're taking a look at that video right now for folks who can actually see it. But we're talking about 22-year-old William McNeil Jr. He was pulled over and ultimately Jacksonville, by the way, they go by the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, not the Sheriff's Department, and they're not deputies, they are officers. And so their officers pulled him over for a traffic stop and ultimately asked him to get out of the vehicle or they were going to smash his window in. And that's what took place. Then he got punched as well. And so we have some video. We were able to hear from William yesterday. So let's take a listen and hear how he's reacting in the moment after.
That day, I just really wanted to know, why I was getting pulled over and why I needed to step out the car when I know I didn't do nothing wrong. I was really just scared.
This was a classic case of driving while black. To the sheriff, respectfully, you can't justify this. You can't condone this. You have to condemn this. You have to look at that video and say, this does not reflect our training, our policies, or our values. And you need to terminate that officer immediately. Immediately. We plan to explore every possible legal remedy to get some measure of justice for William McNeil Jr. Every possible legal remedy.
So that was words from William McNeil Jr., who the victim in this case, and then his attorney, Ben Crump, who we all know, and he oftentimes takes on these cases. Naisha, when you first saw the video, what was your reaction?
I was like, not again. Not again. Because I was actually away this past weekend, and when I'm gone, I turn all my news notifications off.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be in the know. So that when I turned everything back on, and that was one of the first things I saw, I'm just like, not again. Here we go. And I think it's so easy for people to just start pointing fingers because we only saw that video. And of course I had my initial reactions, and then I saw the body cam video, and I go, wait, hold up. Like, a lot of my initial opinions didn't change, but I did see the other side,
right?
You know, and it's really hard being Black in America.
Yeah, I agree, and I think this was a situation where it's tough to constantly see it on social media. I think for me, that's the issue that I'm struggling with. We know it happens.
Right.
To me, this isn't a surprise. I'm pretty sure something like this happened yesterday, unfortunately.
No, honestly.
The problem is I feel like it becomes, we're so we're like desensitized
because it keeps happening.
Correct.
Sandra Bland, blonde,
correct.
Sorry, I think I said her name wrong, but
yeah, I think. But thankfully, with him, we can see him and hear from him, and he's still here with us.
Yes.
And he did say they're going to pursue some legal action there. But I think for me, it's one of those things where I can only imagine, for me as a person who eventually wants to have children, and that kid could be a young Black boy, I fear for what my son could go through.
Exactly. And like people, and I know this is about race because this victim, William, is Black, but I just want people to take that out of it. Like, what if that was a blonde, blue-eyed person? Like, I feel, and there's a lot of ignorance on social media.
Yeah.
People are like, and they try to group Black people together saying like, this happens to the Blacks all the time. Like, why are you grouping us like we're a pack of animals, like a herd or something?
Yeah.
Like, I never got pulled over ever. My siblings, who are all mostly male, never gotten pulled over. So it's like, you got people don't tread lightly when it comes to these things.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because they say, oh, well, this doesn't happen to me, so
don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like, people need to just be a little bit more mindful, and I like to call not willfully ignorant, because that's what it comes down to. Like, you're willfully being ignorant.
Yeah. That's true. I was trying to read and go through this article. Do we know why he was initially pulled over?
I think they said because his
he didn't have headlights.
He didn't have headlights on, and it was quote inclement weather. But if you watch the video, you can see it was not raining during the time of the traffic stop. Was there precipitation on his window on his car? Yes. But at the time when they got pulled over, it was not raining. And when in the body cam video, you can see one of the cops that come in for backup, his headlights weren't on. There's two vehicles in the very background, and when I tell you I dissected this video, there was two cars that drove in the background. Their headlights were not on. And I also looked up, Florida law says that your headlights do have to be on during inclement weather if the wipers are required.
Oh.
So wipers weren't on. So where's this inclement weather that you speak of?
Yeah. And then if wipers weren't on, therefore, why are you mandating that his headlights had to be on?
Exactly.
I think for me, it's one of those, it's tough looking at the video, and a part of me goes, why you ain't just get out the car?
No, I said that too. I said that. I had a whole Twitter like threads dissecting kind of frame by frame.
We know how this operates. Ends.
Yeah.
Why not get out of the car?
And I did say that too. I said this could have, one, if he would have just handed over all the identification like they said, and then just said, I want to speak to your supervisor. Because because I think it's like legal, like you have to give them your identification, but you don't have to like submit to the arrest. I don't know if that's, I'm not a lawyer, clearly. I do this for a living. But it's something about like you have to give them your identification, and then you can like stop answering their questions or something of that nature. So I
Okay.
think if I was in issues, I would have handed over the identification and still pressed. Like, I don't think this is a rightful like traffic stop, like this violation. Can I speak to your supervisor?
Yeah.
Because that cop
But
could
that's
have.
the hard part, right? Because
Yeah.
you deal with you battle with this is wrong and I want to fight it versus okay, this is wrong, but I'm still
So-
gonna go through the parameters that they're asking for,
Yeah.
even though it's wrong. In my opinion, that's what I'm gonna do every single time. I'm going to let you be wrong,
Right.
And you can't. I will not
give you an inkling to. Yeah.
any kind of
Yeah.
inkling or any kind of opportunity for me to be the one who quote unquote messed up. I just want you to be wrong. I want your supervisor to see that you was wrong. I want everybody else to see that you were wrong while I was right. And I think that's the thing that I know we battle with this whole thing about complying. I'm looking at responses and Rick says comply.
Yeah.
You want to comply, but like when your rights are being violated for a moment, you think and you're like, why am I going through this? Why should I have to go through this? This isn't right. And I don't want this to happen to me. But I unfortunately have to think about what could happen to me, given especially how I look and that I am in America and that these things constantly happen.
History. Yeah.
I'm just going to go ahead and do whatever this man say, even though it's wrong.
Even though it's wrong.
I'm going to just go ahead and do it.
Exactly.
Because I don't want to be the next hashtag.
Someone said that's what court is for. Fight it in court. More leverage in court. Exactly.
But court, Mike, that's a good point. Court is amazing. Not everyone can afford court. Not everyone has the wherewithal to even have the capacity to think that far or think about how they're going to obtain an attorney, because maybe they only got $50 in their account and they're trying to figure out how to get to the gas station and how they're going to pay for gas. And so that's also how, when we look at how economics play a role and play a part in the justice system, that's a thing, because they might not. I'm quick to be like, oh, baby, I'll sue you in a heartbeat. But I have the resources to do that.
Yeah.
Not everybody has the resources. And the whole, you always have a right to an attorney. Come on, y'all.
I don't even know how to reach out to an attorney at this big age of mine.
And think about the public defenders. And let's think about, are they really going to fight the case the way you want them to fight the case? Like, Ben Crump ain't going to take on everybody's case, baby, for free.
Yeah, that's true. But that even goes to show that there's wrong in this.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to go through some of these comments. Rick Marcus says, it's not about race. It's about a cop that shouldn't be a cop. I'm from New Jersey, and because I came to Florida, I got pulled over because it was a bad cop, and he mistreated me verbally and physically and I did nothing to make that happen. Well, I'm sorry that happened to you, Rick. Especially coming from the North. I think that's also a thing too. Like, you have transplants and people who are like, I'm not used to this type of behavior. I'm not used to even like how Floridians and people move in general. And so I could only imagine from that perspective too, maybe like not even being from here.
Yeah.
And having to deal with things like that. Rick said, there is never a reason for a cop to punch him in the face. I do disagree with that. Cops face a lot. Cops never know what they're coming up against.
But I have to disagree to that point, though.
What?
Because they are trained to be able to de-escalate any kind of situation, and if you
are correct,
you have a lot of stress on you on the day of the job. This job ain't fit for you, baby.
And you're right.
Call in. And I ain't feeling it today.
But
I'm
at what point?
Sick.
But at what point? Right. But at what point does an officer use excessive force if it's needed? Because everybody ain't the same. I'm gonna be honest with you. Everybody ain't the same.
Right.
And there are people who, like, think about the officers in the line of duty who die, who are just going to go serve a search warrant, and there's somebody behind the door with a gun.
Ready to go.
They don't know.
Yeah.
Like, so what are they supposed to do in those situations? So I think I slightly disagree that there's never a reason for a cop to punch somebody, because there might be a reason sometimes. There might be a case where a cop needs to do that. In this particular case, I personally don't think it was necessary.
Oh yeah.
That's how I feel. Korea says, I think spreading legal information is best, not your opinion.
Yeah, I said I'm not a lawyer. Korea next.
Oh, girl, please. And Mike said, yep, go to court and sue. Taj Marie says he put himself in that situation when he decided to drive with a suspended license. All he had to do was hand over the ID, ask for a supervisor, and then roll up the windows. That's basically what you said.
Yeah. But we didn't know his license was suspended until after all of this. So
yeah, that is true. Now, I believe cops do or can see that upon obtaining their license.
What?
They can see that your license is suspended.
Oh, like
but
when
they
they're
have
on
to
your
get
tag or something, or before they? What do you mean?
I don't know about before they get the license, but when they get the license and they take it back to the car and they look up all of your information, they'll be able to see in their system if your license is suspended, whether it's coming down from the DMV, whether it's coming down from
that's how they
the
ticket
courts.
you.
Yeah, that's how they find that information out. But I don't even think they got to that point.
Not in the video that's posted. They didn't.
Yeah. Mike says, and I'm not saying y'all's last names because some of these I can't pronounce and I don't want to mispronounce it. I was done wrong with video in my car and I won. I did it myself. I have a dash cam that had audio on it. So it sounds like, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds like you went to court, if that is correct. It sounds like you went to court. And you fought your case. Gwen Rollins says, I hear a lot of young black men say they are afraid to get out of the car in fear of getting beat up. That's real.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's real and that's reality. And it's also because that's the reality that they see. We have to realize that social media rules this game right now. Like social media is what, especially younger people, that's what they live by.
Mm-hmm.
And so if all, growing up, let's say someone who's 15 and in the last 15 years, half of your life has been George Floyd and beyond.
Yeah. And he's what, 22?
And this, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
McNeil is only 22 years old, who, by the way, is a student at Livingstone College in Salisbury, North Carolina. He's majoring in biology, and he is also the leader of the marching band. Wow.
So he doesn't sound like it's just unfortunate.
Yeah. It's one, and I don't even think it's about, or I hope it's not about stereotypes and what you look like. Cause I know he has locks and I know he's African-American and he's a male, but I pray and I hope none of that played a role in how there was a response.
Yeah.
And why we saw the kind of response that we did.
I did see that one of the officers, this is like his second case of using excessive force.
No. He's had 5.
Whoa.
The officer who punched him, we had this in our newscast this morning. He has
that's
had
the update.
5 complaints.
I start work at 9. Sorry, y'all.
He has had 5 complaints against him in regards to that, and they've all ended. A few of them ended in like some kind of reprimand, and then I believe 3 of them ended in counseling.
Okay, so at what point do we remove this quote unquote
Officer.
bad cop off the road?
Yeah, and I think that's the conversation I want to have. Honestly, like what happens next? And when we look at our system, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who holds these officers accountable? And why does it always take for a viral video for us to even start having these conversations?
Because this happened back in February. We're in July.
Yeah. That's tough. Taj said, hold on, let me go back to your, if you can't afford an attorney, one will be appointed. Taj, so you mean to tell me your life gonna depend on a public defender?
Nope.
Come on now, somebody.
I watch a lot of SVU.
If you can't afford an attorney, one will be appointed. It does sound like, Taj, you've been watching SVU. It's the law. We need to stop putting ourselves in these situations. He has the right to press charges for assault. Know your laws and rights, please. I mean, period. You're right. Taj is absolutely right. I do agree with that, because if you know better, you do better, right? And I think we're speaking from a place of knowing better. Mm-hmm. Therefore, we would do better.
That's why we haven't been in the situation, because we do
but unfortunately, some people don't know better.
Yeah.
Some people don't have the resources. Some people don't have the access. Some people don't have the knowledge. It's unfortunate. Now, a part of me feels like Mr. McNeil, who is currently in college, a college-educated man, leader of a marching band, should have had the wherewithal.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, baby, why we just ain't? This could have ended so poorly.
Yeah.
This could have been worse than a punch.
And a broken, he had a lip, the glass cut his lip, and he had to get stitches, and then they jumped him. Like them officers jumped that man.
Yeah.
Outside the door.
Yeah.
They don't take all that. It don't take all that. That's where it's very excessive.
Okay, Crystal. Hi, Crystal.
Yeah, I like her
Welcome
comment.
to the chat. Cops should be trained to understand that in today's society, with all that's happened, if a person is articulating that they are uncomfortable or are not understanding what is being asked of them, they need to diffuse that situation appropriately. This was far from appropriate. This was a racist beatdown of a black man. Simple as that. And from what I can see, Crystal is not a black woman. So, period. Crystal is being crystal clear.
Crystal clear. Come on.
No, because I agree with that, because you have to take into account society and what's happening. And I think that some officers probably do lead with that with certain situations. Like, okay, I don't want you to feel any type of way. Like,
I'm just here to do my job.
Correct.
I just want you to comply with me. Like this, the whole conversation just could have gone
completely
differently.
different. Yeah. And it's interesting. Let's take it one step further. If we're going to talk about it, let's take it one step further.
Okay.
The sheriff is a black man.
Oh.
And I think rightfully so. I'm going to stick beside him. He's sticking beside his officers. They did apparently already have an investigation where they know that the officers aren't facing any criminal charges. And so, but based off of what the sheriff has said thus far, he said that this was appropriate. And I think that is very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting, especially the makeup of the news conference. Did you see the news conference and what everybody looked like behind him?
Yep.
It's a tough one.
It's a tough one.
It's a tough one.
And I really want to say, like, hopefully this is the end, but it's a comma, not a period at the end of that sentence.
Rick said, I'm on the side of the guy stopped. Whether he had no license, suspended, or whatever, that cop was overly aggressive. And let's be honest, how many cops were there with guns? And the police said he had a knife in the car. I saw him get hit in and out of car. Abuse of power.
Yeah.
Listen, I am no cop, never would want to be a cop,
No.
Especially because of situations like this. It's tough. I can only imagine it's tough to actually be a part of the law. Our good old friend Garrett is telling me we do have a guest joining us. Garrett, fill me in. I don't even know who this is.
Okay, thank you to Terrence, who
Shout out to Terrence working in the background.
everything.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, wait, Garrett, before we bring our guest, do you want to chime in? What are your thoughts on this video?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that you guys have kind of covered almost all of my feelings and thoughts on it. It's something that we unfortunately see a lot of in America these days. And it's something that is, I mean, I've seen a lot of the comments that we've been reading on our Facebook page, and a lot of them are like, you know, there's really not a right answer to this. And I think that that's correct, because yes, you can say that, you know, this young man absolutely could have done more to not put himself in the situation, but you can also look and say, well, this was obviously a overreaction is the best way to put this on the side of the cops. And so, or in this case, I guess they're the sheriff's officers. Yeah. So do I think that either side is fully washed their hands of blame here? No, I do not. Do I think that one side maybe shoulders a little bit more? I mean, yes, I do. I think that was a bit excessive is a conservative way to put it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't believe that should have happened.
Yeah, it's tough to see. I'm honestly overseeing it. I'm sick of it. So yeah, Garrett, fill us in. Who we got? What's going on?
All right, I am so sorry if I butcher this last name, but we are bringing on Terrence. Thankfully walked in and said, "Hey, I have somebody for you guys." So even when he's not on the show, he is contributing, and we're bringing in a civil rights attorney, Jennifer. How do you say your last name? Is it
Szymczak.
Szymczak.
Oh, Szymczak.
Just like it's spelled, super easy.
Szymczak.
Correct.
Hi, Jennifer. How are you doing today?
Good morning, everyone. I'm doing great. How about you all?
Good. Welcome to Rooted in Progress. We appreciate you joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Oh my goodness. We have so much to unpack. I don't know how much you've heard about our show so far. This is Naisha. She is our executive producer of our show and of our podcast, who's actually joining us here. We have a lot of people tuning in, giving their thoughts and opinions about what recently happened in Jacksonville and what took place with Mr. McNeil. What's your reaction as a civil rights attorney as it relates to this case?
Sure. Well, what I will say is I will give the caveat that I have seen the video that has been posted on the internet. I have not watched the body camera video, which is as my understanding, has also been released. So I will say I have not seen that. I don't know that that necessarily changes my opinion. I have been working with attorney Michael Maddox for the last 15 years, and we handle civil rights cases. I predominantly in the office handle all the civil rights cases. So I wish I could say that I'm surprised by this video or that this is something that I don't normally see, but unfortunately I see it more than I would like to admit. This case, it's gratuitous force. There's really no other way to put it. Based on the law, any force that is greater than necessary to take someone into custody, if they need to be taken into custody, is excessive. And I think this is a clear overreaction. I get the counter argument of, well, choices. He could have made the choice of immediately coming out of the vehicle as he was asked to. But also we are dealing with professionals. Police officers are professionals. They have training. They are trained to de-escalate a situation. And here, they did the complete opposite. Mr. McNeil is the one who's a professional in this situation of trying to de-escalate the situation.
I do agree with you. And I think even without you having seen the body camera video, I think the only thing that you're missing in the body camera video that takes place is you hear the officers basically just telling him like, hey, if you don't get out the car, we're about to bust the window and we're going to get you out of here. But I think even with that, he was asking, can you just let me know what I did before I get out of the vehicle? I'm not comfortable. I am scared. Some of the comments, I'm gonna read you a comment. I believe her name is Crystal. And I think it speaks to what you just talked about, Jennifer. Crystal said, cops should be trained to understand that in today's society, with all that's happened, if a person is articulating that they are uncomfortable or are not understanding what is being asked of them, that they need to diffuse that situation appropriately. This was far from appropriate. This was a racist beatdown of a black man, simple as that. And I think she said it so eloquently when we're in these positions, right? And we're not trained to diffuse. We're scared. We don't know what's going on, no matter what you look like, right? But then you're faced with someone who is supposed to be trained in that way. Is that something that you can legally argue when it comes to these types of cases and civil rights cases?
Sure. So, obviously training is an issue in all these cases. But I will tell you legally what the judge is going to be evaluating is what is called the Graham factors. It's a case, it's a Supreme Court case that literally lays out 3 factors that a court will take into consideration to determine whether the force was excessive. So the first Graham factor is the severity of the crime. And so in this case, it's a traffic infraction. And you can tell me if I'm wrong. I believe it was because his headlights were not on.
That's correct.
And so it's not even what you would call a remotely dangerous traffic infraction. And so the severity of the crime obviously weighs in favor of Mr. McNeil. The second factor is whether the person poses an immediate threat to the officers or others present. Again, I'm going to argue he's not posing any immediate threat as he's sitting calmly in his car. I believe at one point he puts his hands up. And so the argument is there's no threat there. He's just sitting in a vehicle and has committed at most a traffic offense. And then the third factor that the judge is going to take into consideration is whether Mr. McNeil was actively resisting or evading arrest. In that sense, Was he asked to get out of the vehicle? He was asked to get out of the vehicle. He did lawfully have to get out of the vehicle because they did have reasonable suspicion that a crime may have occurred, or for safety purposes, they can ask him to step out. So is there an aspect of resistance? There is. The type of resistance, though, again, I think the court will take into consideration. It is merely non-compliance versus, fighting, or anything of that nature. So I think at the end of the day, when we look at the grand factors, which is what a judge is going to do, that it's going to weigh in favor of Mr. McNeil, finding that the force that was used was excessive.
Wow.
And when it comes to the law, that's what every judge is going to be looking at.
That's a lot to unpack. That's some really good insight too, which we appreciate, Jennifer. I think do you think this is happening too often? How do we, can we do anything?
Can we do anything about it? Yeah.
Yes. I will say that it is happening too often. And I think what we're doing here today is what needs to happen. People need to hear about it, and people need to see it. Because otherwise it is unbelievable. You can't imagine, if someone would have told me 15 years ago when I just got out of law school that there are police officers that punch people in the face, I would say, you've lost your mind. There's no way. Or the alternative would be, well, that person must have been doing something really bad for them to deserve that, right? And now, as I sit here 15 years later doing this is something, we intake probably 5 to 10 civil rights cases a day.
Wow.
That is a lot of civil rights cases. Now, of those cases, there's only a few we could proceed on because of what's called qualified immunity, which is a potential defense for these cases. And it's a broad defense. And police officers know about qualified immunity. And that's also why people, you don't see the billboards of attorneys saying, hey, if you got beat up by cops, give me a call. Right. It's not because this isn't happening. It's because it's extremely difficult to proceed on legally.
Wow. Okay.
But we do these cases to make a change. So it's not for the money because they don't pay big money. But if we can get a policy or a policy change, if we can get some type of training, if we can get, recently, we had a wrongful death case where the chief agreed to sit down with a mother of a deceased son. Things of that nature where we can put a face, a name to what happened, then police officers can say, oh, I remember what happened with this officer. I don't want to be in that situation. But it's got to be public. If we only hear about these cases once or twice a year, it doesn't make an impact. But if we can talk about them on a regular basis, then I think we'll be in a different situation. And the deputies and the police officers, they have a very hard job. I'll give them that. But in the same sense, you also don't want to be the one that's on the news.
Right. And you are right. I think conversations like these are vital. Even having people learn and see what's actually happening. I said this when we opened the show. Unfortunately, this is nothing new, and it probably happened yesterday that we just aren't even aware of yet, at the very least, because very few things could even get to the point where it makes the news and things like that. So, one, thank you for the work that you do, because I do think you are right, whether it's a policy change, whether it's allowing specifically people of color to even be comfortable with law enforcement, and having said meetings, that's a game changer. When we sit down, and we've had chiefs of police on this show, we've had the men and women of law enforcement come on our show, and when we talk to them and we talk to the leaders of these organizations and these departments, that is something that they're heavily focused on, is actually making sure their officers and their deputies have a presence, particularly in minority communities, so that when and if they are pulled over, it's not immediate fear, and they know what to do. So I know one of the things that we talked about, and that we were kind of questioned on, legally, what can we do when we're pulled over?
So legally and practically speaking, I will say, one, Safety for everyone is priority. So whatever you can do to make the police officer feel safe, whatever the police officer could do to make you feel safe is going to de-escalate any situation. So for everyone, hands are a very potentially dangerous weapon. And so if you can show your hands, make them completely visible, that is one thing that's going to make you feel safe, and it's going to make the police officer feel safe. If the officer asks you to step out of the vehicle, if they have reasonable suspicion that a crime may have occurred, or they have safety concerns, they can legally ask you to step out of the vehicle. And so what I tell everyone is that a safety concern is a subjective question. And so
both are subjective, in my opinion.
Sure. And so if a police officer asks you to step out of the vehicle, I always advise step out of the vehicle. Step out of the vehicle, because at the end of the day, it's all about safety. And so if everyone feels safe, then it's going to be hopefully a different situation. I will tell you, a majority of the police agencies now have body camera videos.
Right.
That has changed things drastically from what it was when I first started. Because before it was he said, she said. Most of the time, that's not the case anymore. So again, I tell everyone, I understand the police officers are the professionals, but sometimes there's some that are not professional. And so you have to step up your game and be the professional in that situation. So anything that you can do to make everyone feel safe, that's what I'm going to advise you. Because, we can sit here to the end of the day and say, well, there was no safety concern. He had his hands up. He should have sat in the vehicle. That is true. But in the alternative, he also wouldn't be sitting in this situation, which is a terrible situation, right? And now we have to find a remedy for him. And sometimes there's no remedies in these cases. And so, at the end of the day, it's safety for everyone.
Do citizens have the right to ask for an officer supervisor, and they have to adhere to that? Because multiple times in that video, he goes, I'm like, where's your supervisor?
Yeah. So you have a right to ask for a supervisor. And if a supervisor is available, they will come to the scene. There's no guarantee that you're going to have immediate supervisor on the scene. So
it's not like calling the Publix manager from the back. Gotcha.
Correct. He might come in 3 hours when he's available. So you have the right to ask, but there's no immediate, that if you ask, you could just hang out there until he's going to come and not do anything. At the end of the day, you still have to abide by the commands of the officer.
And I think you bring up a really good point with the whole conversation about it's all about being safe. But at what point is the argument that I don't feel safe valid? And by I mean said person who's being pulled over. I'm looking at one of our comments from Valerie Pitts, who said the young man was probably too afraid to get out of the car for the mere fact because white officers seem to think that we're punching bags. So if you have that fear, right, is their fear just as valid as the officers?
Sure. And again, in those situations, I think the key is you have to present yourself as I am absolutely no threat. So show your hands. Don't move. Don't make any futile movements, things of that nature. Don't scream. Don't be aggressive. Calmly say, look, I do not feel safe. Here's my hands. They're on the steering wheel. I'm not doing anything. I'm not moving. Can you please get another officer here? Whatever it is, to show that you don't present a threat. Because I think the situation could be very different for Mr. McNeil is if one, he's moving all around and he's doing things and he's saying he's not going to get out and he's looking next to his, looking on the seat next to him, things of that nature. That changes the situation, and it also changes the evaluation, because at that point, then the judge says, well, he could be posing a threat. A reasonable officer might believe that he's posing a threat. So again, I think if you can show that there's absolutely no threat, you pose no threat. I know we've got a case pending right now where the gentleman, he held his hands outside of the window. He's like, here's my hands. They were outside the window, and he left them outside of the window until he was dragged out of the car. But again, he posed no threat. His hands were outside. There was nothing he could have done to harm anyone. And so actions like that, it's sad that that's the world we live in, but it's also really important for people to know that you have to make sure that it is clear to everyone that you don't pose a threat, not just yourself.
And I think you are right. And this is something that's super real that I'm about to say that might go against a lot of people who are listening, or they might not agree or be like, damn, why would you say something like that? But it's real. We are not on the same level as a police officer. They are humans, but because of the badge that they have and because of their duties and responsibilities, they have a job that we can't be like, let's go toe to toe with. And I think, unfortunately, some people have that mentality, like, man, you ain't nobody. No, baby, they somebody.
They are somebody. That badge has a lot of power.
They are somebody. And we have to. That's something that, like, when I think of especially Black folks, I'm like, this is where we got to be better. You cannot enter a situation where you feel like an officer owes you something. They owe you dignity. They owe you respect. After that, everything else, they are doing a job. And unfortunately, in a lot of situations, those jobs, they have a higher power than us in those moments. And we have to be able to respect that and comply with those duties and those responsibilities that they have at the same time. And unfortunately, sometimes I don't think people think about that. I think they just another person who owes me something, and they don't.
Yeah, and I will say, they have a difficult job, right? There's a lot of very good police officers out there, and I will say a majority of them do their best to de-escalate the situations. But there are certain bad actors, just as there's certain bad actors in every field.
Yep.
And it's important that we figure out who those bad actors are, and we do what we can to get them out of that position of authority.
Jennifer, go ahead.
And I would just say, in this situation, there was multiple police officers, and to a certain extent, they feed off of each other. We see this a lot where there's one yipped up police officer, and then before you know it, there's 3 or 4 yipped up police officers. Now, there's the alternative where you have the one officer that comes in and says, hey, hold up, let's take a step back, give it a second. And we need those police officers.
Yeah.
We need training for all police officers to say, hey, let's assess the situation. Is the force that we're doing, or is what we're doing necessary?
Right.
And again, they're in a lot of split-second situations where, they do have to use force, right? And if they wait a second, they could be dead themselves. But again, that's why they need more training. The initial training that they get in in police academy, that's just not enough.
Right. I totally agree with you. What do you think, with your expertise from your lens, where, I don't want you to think or give an outcome, but where do you think we're headed with this case? What do you see happening?
Well, I will say, I don't know, and you guys might be able to tell me. I don't know if there's criminal charges currently pending against Mr. McNeil. I don't know if they've charged him with resisting. Are you aware? I don't know.
Let me check. I can check on that. Because I don't know. I would imagine that he is.
I think resistance was one of the charges.
Yeah, and so, I think that case is going to play out in the criminal court. Again, I think that, he's got, thank goodness for media, thank goodness for cell phone video and body camera video, because I think that changes the situation. It's no longer he said, she said, again, he said, the video is the video. And so that's going to play out. And then it's ultimately going to be, I assume that the sheriff's office is going to do an internal affairs investigation and evaluate it. But again, that's their own agency doing their own investigation for any type of policy violation. So I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if they find that there's no policy violation. That's generally how those play out. But maybe there will be, and maybe he will be sanctioned and or fired, or at least receive more training. That would be our hope. And then you've got kind of the third avenue would be the civil realm, where he could potentially pursue an excessive force case either in federal court or state court against the officer.
Him and his attorney Crump, said that they will be doing that for sure. As far as the charges that McNeil is facing, he was arrested and charged with resisting arrest without violence to his or her person, possessing not more than 20 grams of marijuana with intent to use drug paraphernalia, driving while driver's license is suspended, and not wearing a seatbelt, and no headlights in rain, fog, or smoke. Those are the charges that he's facing. What I can tell you also about the officer who punched him, that officer has had 5 complaints against him. And the results of those complaints have ended in 3 counseling sessions and being reprimanded. So I think that's something to consider as well with what happens next.
And I will tell you from my experience of looking at internal affairs jackets and personnel files, I've seen hundreds of them. That is very surprising that he's had that many complaints and they've actually given him sanctions. And so that speaks volumes that it's time to get this bad apple out of there. And so hopefully with this media coverage that will happen, because we'll see complaints against police officers, maybe 2 or 3. Most of them we see are always going to be unfounded because, again, it's their own agency doing their own investigation, so they can't have any bad people working for them.
Right.
So when we do see that there are sanctions placed against these police officers, that means that it's something significant.
Yeah. Well, we will continue to keep an eye on this. Jennifer, we appreciate you coming and hanging with us on Rooted in Progress and giving us so much great insight. And I hope people take your advice for sure.
Thank you for having me. Have a nice day.
Thank you. You too, Jennifer. She brought up some really good points. I mean, I think we all just have to stay educated, be mindful, and kind of know how to react when we're faced with these situations. But at the same time, I think our officers, our law enforcement agencies need more training. Yeah. They need to do their due diligence as well so that they're truly serving their community.
Exactly.
All right. Well, we appreciate y'all for tuning in. I know we didn't even really get to Malcolm-Jamal Warner.
No, we have to just
pay our respects.
Pay our respects just really quick. He was a phenomenal actor.
Yeah, he was. The news was wild.
Yeah,
like we even hopped in the group chat and were like, "What in the world?"
I yelled in the newsroom, "What?"
Yeah,
because a lot of people know him, as Theo Huxtable from the Cosby Show. So that was like a lot of people in the 80s. That was like, their go-to show. Yeah. Of course, we weren't alive at that time yet. So I didn't really watch the Cosby Show.
Oh, that was my show. So I don't know.
I watched reruns here and there.
All the time.
But like I'd known him on, I watched a couple episodes of The Residents. He was on this show called Accused.
He has his own podcast. I've watched a couple of episodes of that.
Oh, yes. I didn't find that out until after he
had a podcast, and it was what actually turned me onto his podcast was doing research for our podcast, because his podcast is literally about but his podcast was about bringing on Black talent in the industry and talking about like ways to uplift and support Black actors, Black singers, like just Blacks in the arts. So like that was the premise of his podcast. So I actually watched a few episodes when we were kind of in our inception with our podcast. But he is and was a phenomenal person, especially to the culture, to the industry as a whole.
No scandals, no. He was really private. Like I didn't even know he had I know he would dated Regina King at some point.
Okay. Wow.
But like he kept his private life clink. Like you didn't know anything about his family like that.
Yeah, I think the latest news, knowing that he was in the water with his daughter is tough. And so I've definitely said a few prayers for his family, for his daughter specifically, because I could only imagine. But that also kind of gave me relief, or it gave even more insight as to who he was as a person, because I could only imagine in that situation. I'm sure he maybe moved in a way that he was the person who caught the brunt of said current.
Yeah, and
instead
probably
of
was
her.
get my daughter to safety.
Yeah. I could only imagine it may have been a situation like that. So if you can, just go watch just a few episodes of The Cosby Show. Forget everything that happened with Bill.
Yeah.
Just let's not even forget about Bill.
Honestly.
Show some love.
Show some love to Malcolm-Jamal Warner, y'all.
Yes, and all the other phenomenal people who were actually on that show. So rest in peace to a beautiful soul there. All right, thank y'all so much for hanging with us.
Thanks for letting me hang with y'all, because I'm usually behind the scenes making this happen.
How you feel after the
I
episode?
good. Okay. I feel good. We just talking.
Okay, that's what I told you.
We just conversing.
Beautiful. Hey, we're live every Thursday, y'all, at 9:30 in the morning. Make sure you join us on Rooted in Progress. Thank y'all for everyone who shared their own personal stories, participated in this conversation. We do it every single Thursday, live on the WFLA Facebook page and the WFLA app. If you download the app, we send you a push alert when we are live, so you can click it and join that way as well. Of course, you can watch and tune in YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. All you have to do is search Rooted in Progress, so make sure you do that. Again, thank y'all so much for hanging with us. And Garrett.
Hey,
Keep staying rooted.
Listen, we wouldn't have had no episode today without Garrett. That's what y'all don't know.
Just want to make sure you guys got your chance to be on air.
We appreciate you, Garrett. We appreciate y'all. Stay rooted. Have a good one.